by a challenge.
You have to get your customers to prioritize their challenges.
Where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode
trying
in
to find a
conversation.
business. I've kind of been, I don't know, I would describe myself as maybe a serial failed entrepreneur. I don't know. I've started a bunch of things and nothing's really taken off. The last thing I tried to start, really put my heart into, was teaching people how to produce music with their computer. So I started an organization called Producers University, and it was courses and daily social media content, kind of tips and tricks, and built up a Facebook page and some on Instagram, but really trying to get people into my course. And it, over the course of over a couple of years, I made maybe just a handful, a few $100s, but it never really turned into anything significant. And I really I put so much work into that and time for so little results. I really just kind of burned myself out on it. And I've tried, I don't know, different things, like I said, here and there, and nothing's really worked out. So for the past few months, I've really just kind of been trying to figure out, like, what's next? What should I do? And I work for a good company. My day job, I work for a good company. I work from home. It pays okay. It's pretty good. It's not 6 figures, but it's pretty good. And I work with good people and I have a good boss, but I always feel, I don't know, trapped or constrained, or it's working for someone. It's just never been the life that I really want. And it's just been a long journey of trying to work my way through life and figure out what to do. So that's kind of the short of it. I've got some ideas for next steps, but I'm really not shy. I guess I'm a little bit gun shy because I've tried so many different things that I'm not. You guys have probably heard the Jim Rohn phrase, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And I really believe that a lot. And I really need to surround myself. I really need to be around more business people, successful people, entrepreneurs, or high achievers, or I don't know, something like that. Kind of build a community of that around myself, preferably people that love Jesus also. So I started doing some looking on the Gateway website and came across y'all's little page there. So here I am.
Right. So looking at your LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, I don't really put any kind of work into.
Yeah. But you do have quite a bit of details.
I'm not sure if it's up to date.
Okay. But you're at PwC right now?
No.
Okay.
I'm at, it used to be called L3 Communications.
Yeah.
Now it's L3 Harris.
Oh,
I've been there for almost 5 years now.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. And what's your role there?
My job title is the very specific project coordinator. I work in the engineering department, just kind of doing a variety of things, from helping with internal communications, metrics reporting. I've built now 2 versions of our engineering intranet site. And kind of a bunch of random stuff for our engineering department.
Okay. And for you guys, engineering, does that mean software engineering, like development?
And now at L3, it's both software and hardware. I mean, we're a government, we're a military contractor, so we run the gamut from making, you've seen on planes or usually on helicopters or even drones, you see the little ball hanging off the nose and it's got all the cameras inside and it rotates all the different directions and does targeting and whatnot. We build those.
Okay.
Everything from that to optics that mount onto rifles to avionics for the F-35. We make all the secure communications that even go on like Air Force One. All that stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So why did you do music last time?
I've been producing music myself for several years, many years, about 11 or 12 years now. And I was listening to a podcast. Have you ever heard of Entrepreneurs on Fire?
Mm-mm.
It's a podcast by a guy named John Lee Dumas, and he interviews successful entrepreneurs that have done well. And the topics are, he's got 3,500 episodes, so the topics are all over the place. But I was on a long drive, probably, I guess, about 3 years ago now, and I was listening to one of the episodes, and I heard somebody say, sell the knowledge that you already have. What do you have? What do you know that maybe somebody else would like to know? And they really said, you don't have to be necessarily the world's foremost expert. You just have to be, a few steps ahead of someone else. And they would probably like to know what you've already learned. And so build a course around that. And it took a while, and I did some research. And so that's how that journey got started.
Okay, cool. And what online course platform did you use?
Thinkific.
Okay, yeah. I'm actually doing this right now. That's why I'm asking. I'm probably going to use Teachable, but I've heard good things about Thinkific as well.
It's good, but one thing I found is they really there's a fee for everything.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's user-friendly. It has some limitations. Like, I decided to build my website off of Thinkific and just a link to Thinkific for the course portion, because the website portion of it is really pretty limited.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, there's apparently quite a bit of money to be made from online courses.
There can be.
But it's actually interesting. Sorry, do you still have that up right now, or have you closed that down?
I have, so I closed down Thinkific because I was paying it, that and ClickFunnels. I was just paying for it month after month and not making any money for it. It's, $100 here, $100 there, and it's just not doing anything for me. So I closed that down. I had I guess it's technically still there, a website that I built on Wix, where I use some of their free tools and just put up videos of all of my course material behind a sign up, and then made it all free. So all people had to do was just sign up and they can just have all the content for free. And I just stopped checking it, monitoring it. So I found, I don't know if it's unique to the music stuff or whatever, but I found so many people were just like, why they want to, they would see my tips and tricks that I would post tips and tricks Monday through Friday every single week, like for 2 years consistently every week. And I was spending all that time creating all that content plus the courses and whatever else. And so people wanted it. They wanted the courses, but nobody wanted to pay for them. They're like, oh, well, if I have to pay, then forget it. I'm like, yeah. And I mean, I posted some free tutorial videos of different things here and there, but the real course, yeah, after a while, I was just like, like after doing it for 2 years, spending, I don't know how many hours, I was like, I just can't keep doing this. So,
Yeah, I understand. Well, I'm sure you learned from it for sure.
yeah. There are some of the things that I like about it, about doing courses and that kind of thing. If you can find your niche and if you can really hit your market, it's location independent. You know, you can be anywhere in the world and do it as long as you have an internet connection and your laptop. And if you can find your goal, that your content, then you can really connect and build a community around that. That's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
But
Very cool. Well, sorry that was a hard time though.
you know, Edison, however many times it took him to create the light bulb, he didn't fail. He just found all those versions that weren't the light bulb.
Exactly. Well, what are you thinking about right now?
I've seen a lot of ads and one particular course around Amazon, around FBA. And I'm giving that some thought. I haven't made a decision. I'm giving that some thought. And it's not just a course, but afterwards, then there's a community and they help mentor you through the process. And that's possibly a bigger part of it than just a course, is sticking with you afterwards in the community. So years and years ago, I signed up for a music production course that I took, and I'm still in their community on Facebook, and they still help each other out, and everybody cheers for each other when they accomplish things, tries to help each other when you release a new track. It's and you can still ask each other, you know, people that are ahead, hey, how do you do this? And they have weekly, you know, sessions where you can show up to a Zoom call and bring your track, and people listen and give you feedback, and that just goes forever. And that's a big deal. So for example, if I were to take this Amazon thing, they would have a community like that to kind of mentor you through, and people that are ahead in the process can give you tips and tricks and show you how to pick the right products and source your products, different stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people make money doing that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, I've done some novel things before too, and spent years on them and a lot of money as well. And I've learned from that, bringing something that's really novel to market is different than tapping into a demand that exists and into, you know, products that people are already searching for. So I do kind of like that overall, but it's not an area that I have experience with. But I mean, I've heard a lot of people doing well with that. I have heard that there's a lot of fees with Amazon, that they kind of nickel and dime you a lot. And so you burn a lot of money in fees. You do sell, but you burn a lot, be seen and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure you'll learn about that.
I know they take a fair chunk of the sales for each product, which, I don't know, it's kind of fair. If you're doing the FBA, they're storing it, they're packing it, they're shipping it, they're handling the customer service, the returns. So
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it takes a fair chunk of the sales, but you know, to avoid all those hassles is probably worth it. So I don't know. It's right now. I'm just trying to gather more details and more information about this particular course and about the process and that kind of stuff. So
cool. What else have you thought about?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Adam, who was your target market for Producers University?
Relatively new producers, whether they were beginners or people who are still trying to figure out how to do it. Usually young guys. I mean, girls too, but I mean, being around producers and being part of this other group, I know that producers are mostly guys, and they tend to be teens to early adults.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I went and reviewed a lot of your stuff on Producers University. You made a pretty drastic change in how you're branding and putting yourself out there about a year ago. It went from a mixture of video and just kind of images to just still frames that had content. But it just, I mean, the content was good, but there was a drastic change and there was no more videos, there was no more pictures of you and things like that. And so I'm a little curious, is it just because time, or just got tired of putting it out there and not seeing the fruit, or?
Yeah, that's probably, you're probably picking up on when I basically just shelved the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I mean, there were still posts that were happening. They were just it was just a graphic art though. It just had a tip and then a like and a follow. And so, which doesn't normally play well on, I mean, definitely not on Instagram, and really not very well on Facebook. You know, you got to have some kind of motion, you got to have live video, you got to have sound, things like that, because as people are scrolling, you got to have something that'll measure to something like that, and a still image will just move right by it. Even, it doesn't matter how good the content is.
Yeah, I mean, I never really posted video content consistently. Like that really wasn't, it was taking me so much time to produce the course itself, and then to create these daily tips and tricks. Like, I just didn't have time. I didn't have the bandwidth to like also consistently produce videos. I just never did.
Yeah.
I put some stuff on YouTube, like tutorials, like how to do this one little thing, or how to do this, kind of do this effect or do that. And I would put those up, and every now and then I would share those on Facebook or whatever. But the main way I attracted my followers was I joined like a couple dozen music producer groups on Facebook. And every day when I would drop my tips and trick post or whatever, I would go in and post it into all these groups. So all these people who are already looking for content about producing music were then seeing my tips and trick. And I got really close, almost 10,000 followers on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was looking at it. I mean, there are several of your videos that were over a year and a half ago that had 1,000+ views, interactions. And I mean, that's not a small thing, you know, especially if you're not paying for it, you know, and then all your content just changed. And so, but really my only real thought on this, if you're scrapping it and staying that way, that's fine, is that you would have to go younger. And really the thought that came in my mind as you were kind of sharing and kind of unfolding is I was thinking about Jesus whenever he was talking. He was having dinner with some tax collectors and stuff like that, and some Pharisees came up and asked him, hey, why are you having dinner with these guys? And his response is, you don't put new wine in old wineskins, and a lot of people misunderstand that, but he's talking about discipleship. And he's saying that I can't train somebody who's already been partially trained. And so I'm going for the people who have no training on purpose. Number one, they see there's a value difference because they value him differently. And I don't have to fight anybody else. I don't have to fight your previous teacher. I don't have to fight anything else that you've learned. You're brand new slate. And so if it was me, and I'm just kind of thinking outside the box, is is you would have to go young, like almost like elementary, junior high, and you're not marketing to the end user, you're marketing to the person's wallet. So it's almost like a day camp. It's almost something like you're hitting these moms and these dads and things like that. It's a safe environment. Your kid, it's almost like a guitar lesson, but it's for music production. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Piano class, but they do all that crap online now. And so
sure. Yeah, that's what I was trying to keep in mind. I always intended it to be for beginners, but realizing if a course is, $1,000,
yeah,
if they're 14, they might not have access to $1,000 for a course.
Yeah, and again, maybe it's just you're working. You got to adjust what the cost looks like. You got to adjust how they're receiving it. And sometimes that's just your market just telling you need to adjust some things, and that's okay. It doesn't make you a failure. It just means, instead of saying $1,000 up front, you do, 10 payments of $99.99. What's the difference? Yeah.
And I tried a whole bunch of permutations and variations and different price points and payment plans. And over that time, oh gosh, I tried a whole bunch of different things. And the only time I really had success was when I did like this big promotion. I hyped it up way ahead. And I said for the first month or whatever, everybody that signs up I revamped the course. Everybody that signs up for the first month or whatever gets it for just like $7.
Yeah.
And I had a flood of people that joined. I made like $400 or $500.
Yeah.
But that was my signature course for $7. I was like, I can't. It doesn't.
I just wonder if you're going after beginners, if there needs to be more of the partial tutorial that's live. There is some homework, there is some things that you're doing on your own.
The whole thing was live.
Yeah.
It was live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's where I'm thinking, like, because I remember I used to do tutoring. It's been 15 years or so. But again, that was the perk, is that, you had a one-on-one. It was intensive, but you had drastic results, and the goal wasn't forever. The goal wasn't meant to be forever. It was, the cost was substantial up front, and then you had kind of this, pool of, you can kind of hang out. And so maybe that's an adjustment where there's a little bit.
And I started like a group, Facebook group for people, after you go to the course, and you can stay in the group, and kind of like the one that I was in before, and ongoing coaching. And I'd show up to the Facebook group, even if it only had just a few people in it, and talk to them and ask them if they had any questions and try to interact with them. And it just, the group that I was in actually charged almost $3,000. The one that I took years ago. And every couple of months, they're introducing a new class, a new group of graduates to a Facebook group. And they have, I don't know, about 400 some odd, about 500 people in there now. And he's done, this was just about 6 or 7 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But
it's probably drastically different than a 12-year-old.
Yeah, they don't really.
And how they.
Yeah, they don't really have little kids in there. They have some teenagers, but they're usually on the older end of teenagers. But he got his start because he got introduced to the NYU music school, and they started referring their students, and he's done some other stuff where he even told me, because I asked him later, how did you start getting people to pay for this program? And he said, well, I kind of had a real boost from NYU and some other people. He's got David Guetta. You guys know who David Guetta is? super famous. He follows them. David Guetta is, I don't know, he's French, I think, but he's making millions and millions of dollars off of electronic. He plays at the biggest festivals in the world. He's one of the premier electronic music producers in the world. And he follows them on social media, follows their tips. He's invited them over to his, they live in Miami, so they've been to his Miami apartment to work on music together. And
do you personally do your own producing of music just for fun kind of stuff right now? Do you do that
yeah,
at all?
I mean, I haven't in a few months, but I've got several tracks on Spotify, whatever.
Do you have people liking those? Do people listen
Some
to
have
it?
done well, some haven't. So I've tried. I don't know if you've heard of Beatport, but it's like the iTunes for DJs. So the Beatport charts are usually a decent metric for electronic music, and I've charted on Beatport a couple of times. But
Have you ever done any DJ work, like for events?
Yeah, I tried to stay away from DJing like weddings or corporate parties, or where you have to play a huge mix of top 40 and country and everything else. That just wasn't for me. So, but I did some, and DJ'd a couple of small like electronic festivals and clubs and stuff.
Did you like that?
It was fun. It was fun, but I don't know if it's my age or what, but that wasn't, especially once the course kind of petered out. I was like, that's just not where I want to put my energy and focus right now. I'm sure eventually I'll go back to it just as a hobby, just as a creative outlet, something that I want to do, just making music. But right now, that's not where my focus is.
So what brings you life, Adam? Like if you could be doing anything at any point in time, what brings you the most life?
I'm probably my most carefree, my most, I don't know, joyful. I don't know. I guess when I'm traveling, honestly. I didn't travel when I was a kid. I didn't get to. And some people showed me that as an adult. And now I don't know. I love it, and I can't get enough. So something I hope to do more of.
Now, are you thinking about traveling in terms of generating a blog or a vlog, or do you just strictly, are you thinking about the traveling just as something that you like to do, just for personal?
Just personal.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, there's one more thing I started. So if the pandemic here really started in April of, what was it, 2019? I guess it was
2020.
That January, I had started a travel agency and got a client, booked a couple of trips, and then it was like COVID showed up. that was that. So then we were all stuck at home, and I started thinking again, okay, well, now that I'm at home, what should I do? And that's how I started the course, Producers University. So
How do you think the travel brings you so much life, besides the fact that you didn't do it when you were a kid?
I don't know. There's something about seeing the world, seeing something different, going somewhere new. especially if you get to do it with somebody that you like, somebody that you care about, having somebody with you and getting to see a new place that's not your everyday. You know, it's not normal. It's, I don't know, it's an adventure. It's exciting. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like something that is free as far as your time is concerned, you know, if you know time is free, but I just mean like travel is awesome, but it's expensive.
Right.
But your music, you know, teaching people how to do music is interesting. But also just the general idea of producing music is pretty neat as well. You know, that's probably the one thing that I mean, the FBA is definitely interesting. I think that's pretty cool for sure. There's a lot of people doing that, but it also works. You know, there's formulas for that. It's not a bad idea. And the music thing is certainly riskier as far as really generating income. You'd have to think about where, like Spotify pays very little, you know, and you'd have to be pretty big to make any money on that. YouTube pays probably
Yeah, I mean, if
less.
you're looking for money off of Spotify royalties, yeah, you really have to be like David Guetta.
Yeah.
It's,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, the DJ thing is cool, but you don't seem to love it.
Not anymore. And you can make money DJing events like weddings and corporate events and stuff like that, but you don't get to play the music that you really love. Like
Yeah.
you have to play what they want to hear. Like, to play events and stuff that allow me to play the music I want to play, you don't get paid until you're attracting a crowd. I mean, once you're big and famous and you bring in a lot of people, then you get paid for it. But that takes a really long time.
Mhm.
So it's fun and I enjoy it, and being creative is important to me, but it's not something that I do for money. It's just because I enjoy it. So
It doesn't even sound like it's something that you do really at all right now, because you said you hadn't done it in a couple of months. So
it's been several months. Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest thing that whenever I'm sharing with peeps is, you know, there's really two different things. So you have a career and a calling, and sometimes they commingle, where your career and calling are in the same field, where like you'll be a pediatrician and then you'll go to Africa and provide free medical care to children, right? So your career and calling are in the same path. Sometimes your career fuels your calling, where you go to work so that you can do your calling. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it sounds like the FBA thing is just swapping a career for a career, you know, because you didn't sound very excited about project coordinator. You know, you didn't have any joy on your face. There wasn't any life in your voice. It was just, this is something that God's given me the ability to do, but it's not something that if like they pay you to show up, if they stop paying you, you wouldn't show up, I'm assuming.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, part of being an entrepreneur and things like that is this something I want to do? And there's going to be a grind portion, and that's okay because I want to do it. I'm going to do it anyways. And,
right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at is kind of like a discovery of what's my calling, what brings me life, God, why does traveling bring me life? You know, yeah, I didn't do it when I was a kid, but why? What's the difference? You know, maybe it's not really the travel, maybe it's the experience. And then, okay, can I capture that in something else? And so trying to figure out that calling, can sometimes trigger that opportunity in business. It makes it a little different. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Whenever you're talking about the FBA, I'm just thinking, if you have something that's stable, it's paying you well. I mean, it seems like you're just trading an unknown for something that is known, and not really sure if it's going to bring you the life that you're looking for, is just kind of my. Howie, what do you think on that?
I mean, I'm kind of like you in the way that I almost genetically have to have a side hustle. I really do. So I know what that feeling is like. I also have to be working on something. I poured years and a lot of money into a big project that was very, very novel. So I kind of caution people a little bit when it comes to doing something really novel. But there's ways to do that we won't necessarily get into right now. But I feel like if you're the kind of person that needs to have something going on the side, just because that's you, which is how I am as well. And a lot of the people that we talk to be honest, are the exact same way. We just attract that, I guess. They have to have something going on. Then yeah, I think some small experiments are good. I think we advise people on that all the time. Like, is there a version of what you're thinking about that doesn't cost as much, that you can start off kind of small and seeing if you like it and stuff like that? I think there are some interesting things that you can do with experimenting with Instagram and Facebook ads to sell a product, that I built a whole business in probably July of 2020 over a period of 3.5 weeks. And it probably cost me less than $300. And I was able to determine that it wasn't a good market fit right now. And it was pandemic related at the time, but it didn't work. But I had fun with it, and I got to learn a few things, and it didn't cost me that much. So I think doing some small experiments isn't a terrible thing. One idea that I've had is trying to find sort of existing life hacks and turn those into products or turn those into services. For example, my daughter found there's two things, and these are kind of girlish, so they may or may not be good for you, but there's an eyelash curling technique that mimics close enough, I would say, to having eyelash extensions, and it's just with this curler and this technique. But people would pay for that. Like, people would pay $20 a pop for that. But is there a way of taking that sort of internet thing that's already known and then doing that and putting it, packaging around that? Another one was like eyelash oil that my younger daughter created, but I think it was based on an online recipe. So some of these things that are out there that are kind of trendy or cool, it's almost just not a terrible idea to get behind them. Now, you may not necessarily vibe with, a female product like that as much, or you may say, I don't care. I'm willing to create an eyelash oil that helps people have better lashes. I don't care. I can work with that. But there's ways of taking, without having to be the inventor, you can just be sort of the promoter of something that exists already. I know Mark Cuban did a deal with a lady, I think Simply Sugar or something. I'm not exactly sure. Tank, but she basically had some problems, and she created some sugar-based skin products and scrubs that were really transformative for her with her skin issues, and that's become a big business. But it's not like no one ever thought of putting sugar into a skin product before, so there's things that you can kind of leverage without, you don't have to be the inventor. You can be the promoter and the distributor of something else.
Yeah, the guy that is running the FBA course that I'm kind of looking at, he puts out a lot of free content without giving away the entire farm, but he puts out a lot of his, like, look, don't invent something new. And he uses platforms like Helium 10. I don't know if you've ever heard of Helium 10, but there are these platforms that scrub through like Amazon or whatever, and they see what categories, what products are trending, what keywords, what search terms are getting the most hits consistently and all that. And they give you all this data and all this reporting. And I don't know exactly how it works because I haven't been through his course yet, but you check this website and you see, you know, what's been trending, I guess, over a certain period of time, what categories and blah, blah, blah. And then you go to a place like Alibaba and they have suppliers and you find that product, but then you find a way to tweak it. Whether maybe that product has forever only come in black, you find a way, find a supplier who can then make it in 4 or 5 different colors, for just as an example. And then you brand it, you order a sample, and if you like the quality, you create your own label, you white label it, and you order 500 units and have it shipped straight to Amazon for them to fulfill. And then he teaches and mentors through how to like actually launch it so that it gets seen. It doesn't land on, you know, the 10th page and all that stuff, and gets, you know, right up there on the first page so that people will see it. But anyways, it's this whole process that he goes through, and he recommends products between $10 and $50. He's not, you know, he's like, you know, you're not trying to sell, you know, multi-$100, $1,000 products, because that's going to be really hard. You want products that just people are going to and looking for every day. So
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We had a lady on here that travels to South Korea and she has family there, but she goes there and she talks to different dealers of products and buys, you know, a fairly decent amount of it. But she brings it home in suitcases, which is not a great, I don't feel like that's really very scalable.
yeah.
But she sells out of that stuff. So stuff that's kind of, you know, emerging overseas that hasn't hit here yet, she's basically bringing it here and stuff like that. You know, that could be an interesting way of merging travel and sort of fulfillment kind of stuff as well. You know, another way of using travel could be and travel as well as kind of like the shopping and shipping kind of stuff too, is if you did do some travel, you know, for a vacation or whatever, and you spent some time in, you know, India or wherever, and you found, you know, certain products, you could, you know, talk to certain stores that do import export, you know, little neat stores that might want to buy certain products, and you could even FaceTime them while you're over there, you know, things of that nature. So there's a way of maybe merging some loves with travel and with selling things that could be interesting. But that's, you know, I feel like that would be possible if you said, okay, I'm going to go to Paige's place in Colleyville. I don't even know if she's in business anymore, but she used to do novel, cool, you know, just neat stuff. Basically, there's these little stores that are. So I just got back from Santa Fe, New Mexico yesterday, and they have streets and streets of this kind of stuff, where it's like, you know, they're importing stuff and they're just these niche cool things, like these little, you know, figurines and baskets and little rugs and blankets and all kinds of just pretty. It's all very pretty and neat stuff, you know. But some, like, I bought an alpaca. You probably can't see it here. I bought an alpaca blanket for my office that was $120. I got it for $110, but you know, he probably spent, you know, $35 on that from that, you know, middleman or whatever it could be. But you know, he was selling tables of that stuff, you know, and people throughout were doing that. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, there's interesting, you know, if you wanted to go to exotic places and find products, you could maybe, you know, merge interests if you already wanted to go there. You know what I mean? If you said, well, I would love to go to the Andes, and talk to alpaca dealers who are already making these blankets, and I'll just buy 100 of them. It's like, okay, $3,000 I'm going to buy, if I get them that cheap, So I don't know. I like the FBA because it's a little bit more digital from home kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to run as a side hustle.
Yeah, a little bit more side hustle kind of thing. And there's probably a way that you could do it for $500 and just do it, or even if even if you had to sink a couple grand into it, maybe or plus initial inventory, it's not terrible. But outside of that, I mean, the DJ thing was cool because you already like it and you're already good at it. But I'm struggling thinking of how to help you monetize. I mean, Spotify is going to pay you like $4, like ever.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the years I've been producing and releasing music, I finally, a few months ago, got a royalty check for like $135. I mean, and that was, that was nice, but and it wasn't just Spotify. That was actually selling music like on Beatport and whatever else. And that was, that was okay. That was nice, but I feel like this, it can be said for a lot of things, but especially in music, maybe in entertainment generally, it really just has to be a labor of love. You just really have to do it because you just want to put stuff out. You just want, it's in you. You need to release it. You need to let it out. If people like it, great. Okay, but at least I made it and I released it to the world, but, so we're not selling CDs anymore. It's by the stream, and they're paying not 4 cents a stream. They're paying about a quarter of 1 cent or 20% of 1 penny per stream. So somewhere around there. So,
wow.
You're not, even if you have 100,000 streams, it's maybe a handful of dollars, like
wow.
$3 or $4.
That's tough.
So it just is what it is. I mean, you do it because you want to, not because you're expected to make money.
Is there a way to market your course to schools? Like a technical school,
yeah,
like that, where they're buying the package and the students are receiving it. So really, the students are the middleman through the school.
Yeah,
because they're going to have more of the budget to pay.
Yeah,
You can kind of back off on the live portion, but
I kind of started to think about something like that towards the end, or maybe reaching out to like junior colleges, their music departments or something like that.
Yeah.
But I never jumped into that. But after I talked to the guy that ran the course that I took years ago, and he mentioned that NYU had sent him a lot of people, that got me started kind of thinking about that. How could I do something like that? By then I was kind of in my trying to decide
you were boxing it up and
I was really like, oh man, I've been beating my head on a brick wall for 2 years, and I'm like,
well, I just wonder now, it's summertime, you got to assume a lot of these music teacher departments, stuff like that, are taking a little bit of a break, but they're going to be coming back in July. I wonder if there's a way to have like a 7-day free trial, check it out, and then
I mean, it would have been easy to do something like that, but if I still had Thinkific and all that stuff, but all that's been shut down for a pretty good while. I'd have to rev that whole engine back up and subscribe to everything all over again and upload all my content.
With Thinkific, let me ask you this: were you doing your classes all live?
No. So it was tiered. So I had a couple of tiers where, you could pay just a little bit to get, this little part or whatever. You could pay a little more to get kind of the full course, but pre-recorded. And the point, the thought was, and what I had been taught was, then once I've been through all that, offer like the free, like kind of the hand holding, the live, not free, but the live $1,000 course, you know, whatever, where you meet with them every week live, you check their progress, and you do live coaching and the whole thing. But all of the videos and materials that I had gathered together for the course were hosted on Thinkific.
So those are gone. Those are gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I still have all the video on my computer, but Thinkific's completely gone. I was
You're
just
burnt out.
for almost 2 years. I was paying $100 a month to host it all, and not, you know, I wasn't doing anything for me.
So Teachable has a free tier for one course. It's free, and then you do a fee, and then for I'm looking at them right now. Teachable.com. There's a lady named Melissa Gulen who I'm watching on YouTube right now about this. And she used to work there, and now she does courses about starting a podcast. That's her kind of thing mainly.
But I did that too.
Yeah. And she the monthly, if you do monthly billing, it's $39 per month for the basic level, but there's a free tier as well. But it just supports one course. Unlimited students. Anyway, Teachable is interesting. It's kind of because I'm trying to do. Beastmode knows this about me, but I like to do little experiments that are like a couple $100. And so I'm trying to, in fact, I bought a mic, which was not cheap. I bought a mic that was over $100. So unfortunately we'll have a little bit of hardware involved there, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. I like his idea a lot on selling to schools. I have some other curriculum that's not music related that I'm thinking about. That's one channel I'm thinking about selling to as well. As far as, you know, going to schools that already do some of that, you know, might be interesting. Again, mine's not music, mine's career related, but anyway, yeah, I don't have like some massive revelation for you, like something novel. I think FBA isn't terrible.
Like, people frequently say, like, I don't know if you hear a lot of people, I've heard on different podcasts, like, find something you love and do that, then your passion will come through and your love, and people will be drawn to it, and you'll be able to sell it, and it'll make lots of money. I mean, I'm sure that works for a lot of people, but I don't think you necessarily have to do something that you love, that you're passionate about. For example, I looked at possibly buying, for example, like a laundromat. Like, I'm not passionate about doing laundry, but it's profitable. It makes a lot of money.
I think if you can do that, you should do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's you don't necessarily have to be passionate about it to be good at it, and to run it well and to make good money at it. And that, like you said before, your job can be separate from your calling. You know, you can be very good at your job and make a lot of money, and that can fund or fuel your passion or your calling. I have a friend that is a part owner of a small financial services firm, and he's wanting to start build, he's going to, however you say that, a private equity fund. And we've been, I've been looking for business deals, and he's looking for someone to fund who has a good deal. So that's something else. That's another thing that's a possibility for
Is he looking for people to invest in, basically?
Yeah, exactly. He's in the fundraising mode right now for the fund, and looking for entrepreneurs that want to or need funds to buy a business or grow a business or whatever else, that kind of like Shark Tank.
Sure.
So that's something else that I've been thinking of. I've been through laundromats.
I think
other things.
What about, let me ask you this. So this is a friend of yours. I mean, if you brought him deals, you could just be like a deal finder guy.
I thought about it too. Somebody that just takes a cut for finding the deals, putting the investors and the entrepreneurs together.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like the best idea you've had.
Yeah, I like that. He's, he doesn't have his fund all the way up and running yet, and he's got some wealthy people that he knows, that he's friends with, that he's trying to raise money. So I'm not.
You bring a good deal and the money comes in pretty quick.
Yeah.
So your piece has a lot more life to it when you're talking about things like that versus the other things, which is what I'm paying attention to this whole time.
It's a little exciting. It's a little fun, to put that together. Somebody who can, I've got, $1 million to invest into an entrepreneur or something like that. To see that kind of transaction, to bring that's a little, I don't know, to me, it's a little exciting. It's a little fun to see happen.
Yeah.
It's not something that I can turn tomorrow, because like I said, he's still building his equity, his private equity fund, and finding deals it's not as easy as I used to think it was. Things like laundromats that are primarily cash businesses, you find out that the owners don't really keep great records, bank records and tax records, and nobody wants to invest in somebody with bad records. So that's not a good thing. And there's a lot of criteria, but all you need is one good one, I guess.
That's it.
But I like that idea quite a bit, actually. And I'm glad that Beastmode was mentioning how your face lit up, because I wasn't paying attention to that. So that was good. It was a really good observation. I think I did sense it in your voice, but that was really, really good. I think what is appealing to me about that is, if you think about it as a person, you're interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, and you're interested in the and you're kind of like, you're seeking, your heart is seeking already. And so it's basically pointing that interest in entrepreneurship and the seeking heart at something that can fund and get behind those things that you find. And you'd need to make something out of that. So I think that is pretty cool, because you've got this, you've got that, your heart is already searching for ideas. But in this case, you would be just searching for established organizations or established, and I can give you, let me tell you this one site. I think it's called Micro Acquire. It has to, yeah, it's called Micro Acquire. And you could probably sign up on Micro Acquire and similar micro startup, marketplaces, and find things like that. Another place you could find businesses for this guy is people who are doing not GoFundMe. The crowdsourced. I haven't ever done those. Sorry that I don't know, but there's two big ones out there where you can do crowdsourced.
GoFundMe is one of them, I think.
GoFundMe is more of a nonprofit, though.
Oh.
Oh gosh, I'll find it for you. They're crowd-based funding. It's almost like it has this feel of like an auction. Hang on, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I know about that. So, Kickstarter. Yeah, you've heard of Kickstarter.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have a competitor. I don't have to look it up. You can look it up, but Kickstarter type thing. But if I was on Kickstarter and I'm finding people that are, the crowd is kind of responding to that, I can reach out to the founders and offer them a deal from your partner, or offer them a meeting. And I think it's his job whether or not to fund it. It's your job to get the meeting. And if you could set the criteria up in that way, I think that's cool. And what's great is that you have a strong level of intelligence, so you know how to understand, what these, at a fundamental, at a basic level, what these different businesses that you run into are doing. So you've got the IQ, you've got the brain power to do it, and you've got the heart that's searching for businesses anyway. And now the Lord has put this in your path, this friend who is literally starting a fund, right? And so, there's some value. This guy probably has a busy life. There is some value in being the finder, and your heart's already a finder. Your heart's already trying. You just never had a channel to tap into before. So anyway, I just wanted to add my comments to it because I like what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, that's crossed my mind. I just wasn't sure how to put it together.
It's better than FBA. I would burn that alive if I could have it, if your friend would do this with you. I would burn it alive. The FBA I would set on fire in the backyard.
Okay.
And I would work with your friend all day long and on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That sounds good.
and quite frankly, I mean, again, we're all faith-based individuals here. I mean, my whole thing is there's a huge opportunity to get God involved and just say, God, where's the opportunity? I want to be a conduit of this opportunity and be able to be a blessing to the people who need the deal and be a blessing to the guy. And just, can I just be a blessing and just have favor, just like Joseph did everywhere he went? He just brought favor to everyone that he was around. And he wasn't especially talented, but what he did was he brought the favor of God with him everywhere he went. And he was rewarded for that, and then he was able to do what he was called to do. So I think there's an opportunity, especially if you give it to God. Sure, it's financially lucrative. If you just say, hey, God, this brings me life just when I think about it. And I think you're the one who put that life in me, but I want to honor you with this life and this opportunity. And,
I like that. And my friend that's starting the fund is also a believer.
Yeah.
And the firm that he's part owner in has always been centered around faith. So
cool. You're muted, Howie.
Sorry. If you get some initial ideas together and get, if your friend's interested in that, we could do a follow-up session with you on a couple things. First of all, what kind of deal do you want to make with your friend, right? Compensation. And then two, what's your strategy, right? Documenting. Because see, we're better, to be honest with you, with this podcast, we're a little bit better when people have a little bit of emotion. Like we landed okay here. I feel like we landed really well. I like where this ended. But the reason why is a little bit, we're better optimizers than we are like show you which way to go.
Sure.
So that had to have something to hook into, but now you're kind of you're in our lane because we know how to build and structure and promote better than we can like help someone find, their dream. So I think the good news is your dream is already knocking a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Beastmode is right. You really want to pray about it. But I think have breakfast with your friend and just say, listen, I'm naturally oriented. My heart's always looking for entrepreneurship, and I've never known why, but I'm never satisfied. I love my job and I'm happy with that, but I'm always looking for something to develop. And I'm always interested in learning about businesses. And since you're doing this, what if I was a finder for you?
Yeah, instead of necessarily the one being funded for an acquisition, because that's the angle I've been going, is trying to find a business to acquire myself.
Yeah.
and I've looked at a couple different categories, and I've looked at this and that, but I kind of like, I kind of like lose my motivation. One thing I thought about a while back is what would it be like to build my own firm around just hooking deals up with investors, hooking entrepreneurs and people with deals, and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the commission on something like that would look like, but I'm sure there's some documentation. I'm sure there's information that I can find to kind of figure out what that would look like.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I'm glad y'all pointed that out. I think that's an action that I can take right now this week, is just to start doing some research on that and start looking that up and figuring out what, kind of putting that picture together.
Everybody wants a good deal brought to their lap. And so if you just go to this guy and say, hey, I'm going to bring you good deals, you know, God's going to provide me deals to bring to you. I just want you to know, be ready. You know,
and he's already got ready business owners that have told him, look, I've got cash just sitting around that I need to use. I need to put it into motion.
Yeah.
And he's like, his, you know, as a financial services person, his light was going off, and he's like, we need to start making this happen. So
yeah.
Love it.
I don't think you need approval to bring somebody a good deal.
Right.
You know, you just bring them a good deal and allow them. It's an opportunity for you to receive this good deal. If you don't want it, I'm gladly give it to somebody else.
Sure.
You know,
and also, you know, the last thing that you did was like a 2-year commitment that was, you know, didn't work out necessarily. And although you learned a lot, so that's great. We never really fail, truly. You know what I mean? And we really do learn from these things.
Right.
But still, you know, in this case, you're talking to businesses who have a little bit of traction already. It is working. And so that'd be a little bit more satisfying for you to go find, you know, money for them and make those connections happen. So you get to learn, you know, you get to scratch your itch of entrepreneurship and learning about different businesses, but also make some commission.
Maybe there's some travel
from this process.
Maybe there's some travel in there.
Oh, actually, good point. Good point. Smart.
You know?
There you go.
I'm hitting my.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a good. That was a good pull.
Yeah. So let's pause kind of here.
Us the opportunity to listen and learn from you. So send us your responses.